Hello, good people of the interwebs. I am sharing another article from Kotaku.com, and it is something about what we deal with on a daily basis when we're on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or whatever kind of online form function that we frequent online on a daily basis. This time it's about an issue that we all have to face and we all have to deal with. Fighting online abuse isn't about trolls, it's about community. On the internet, it's always raining. Alright. If you spend time online, playing games, talking on social media, using message boards, chances are you've gotten some abuse. Someone's called you a fag, a dumb bitch, or suggested they might find out where you live and skull fuck you to death. When that happens, we generally take it as a cost of doing business online. It's the internet, we say, licking our wounds and trying to focus on other things. That's how it goes. But that's not really okay. It's not a good enough answer, and on some level, we all know it. The internet is where so many of us live, play, work, and socialize. It's an essential part of our lives, as real as many of us as any school, office, or city street. Is it really okay that we somehow passively decided as a community that this sort of behavior is par for the course? In a new feature that Wired, writer Laura Hudson, disclosure, we're dating, has shared the results of months of research. And mind you, this is the author talking that they're dating. Has shared the results of months of research and interviews about online harassment. In it, she focuses not on harrowing stories of victims, believe me, there are plenty, but rather on possible solutions. She argues that long-time solutions won't be found by banning trolls or removing the few most toxic members of a community. Rather, it's about a community deciding what its values and norms are, clearly communicating these norms and giving community members the tools to help enforce them. You know, like YouTube. Imagine how it'd be if you walked up to someone at your job, screamed in their face that they were a faggot Jew and you were going to track them down at home and kill them. It wouldn't be okay, right? People would say something. There'd be outcry as soon as you start yelling. You get called into the office, reprimanded, and possibly fired. That's because your office community has a set of cultural norms in place that clearly state that it's not okay to behave that way. Most real-life communities have these sorts of norms. A lot of internet communities, however, have no such established norms, and many users have come to assume that anything goes. So it has been, and so it shall forever be. Welcome to the internet. Laura and I have spent many hours over the last several months discussing the article as she worked on it. Her perspectives, her interviews, new perspectives, upended assumptions, and so forth. It's been instructive for me, and I come away with a greatly refined perspective on the issue. Like her, I'm convinced that the best way for communities to improve their level of discourse and curb abuse and harassment is for the people in charge of those communities to establish better, more consistent social norms, and to put place tools that let community members help enforce them. League of Legends may be famous for having a toxic community, but the game's developers at Riot are actually doing some groundbreaking work in their attempts to address and improve things. Among their more successful endeavors is the tribunal system, which allows a jury of players to vote on offending behavior and mete out punishments, including bans. Riot has also assembled a team to analyze player behavior and brought together staff members with degrees in psychology and neuroscience to help better understand the dynamics in play in league games and in the community at large. It's working. From Wired. Sorry about that. This process led to a surprising insight, one that shaped our entire approach to this problem, says Jeffrey Lynn, Riot's lead designer of social systems, who spoke about the process at last year's Game Developers Conference. If we remove all toxic players from the game, do we solve the player behavior problem? We don't. That is, if you think most online abuse is hurled by a small group of maladapted trolls, you're wrong. Riot found that persistently negative players were only responsible for roughly 13% of the game's bad behavior. The other 87% was coming from players whose presence most of the time seemed to be generally inoffensive or even positive. These gamers were lashing out only occasionally in isolated incidents, but their outbursts often snowballed through the community. Banning the worst trolls wouldn't be enough to clean up League of Legends. Riot's player behavior team realized nothing less than community-wide reforms could succeed. Some of the reforms Riot came up with were small but remarkably effective. Originally, for example, it was a default in the game that opposing teams could chat with each other during play. But this often spiraled in abusive taunting. So, in one of its earliest experiments, Riot turned off that chat function, but allowed players to turn it on if they wanted. The impact was immediate. A week before the change, players reported that more than 80% of the chat between opponents was negative. But a week after switching, the default negative chat had decreased by more than 30%, while positive chat increased nearly 35%. The takeaway: creating a simple hurdle to abusive behavior makes it less prevalent. The team also found that it's important to enforce the rules in ways that people understand. When Riot's team started its research, it noticed that the recidivism rate was disturbingly high. In fact, based on number of reports per day, some banned players were actually getting worse after their bans than they were before. At the time, players were informed of their suspension via emails that didn't explain why the punishment had been meted out. So Riot decided to try a new system that specifically cited the offense. This led to a very different result. Now when banned players returned to the game, their bad behavior dropped measurably. Riot's approaches are fascinating, and as the company is demonstrated by trying various solutions out on their massive user base, a lot of them actually work. Lynn's GDC talk was great. You can watch a video on the whole thing from here, and I really recommend it. Of course, I'm not going to watch it because I don't really feel like watching it. And it's called the Science Behind Shaping Player. So you can check this out for yourself. Well, yeah, you can actually check it out for yourself because I'm going to put a link in the description. Games, with their closed communities and well-funded community management teams, have a terrific opportunity to blaze trails that hopefully might be followed in some ways by larger social networks like Twitter and Facebook, where harassment is still rampant and many users, particularly women, are besieged so constantly and unpredictably that they opt to forego the service completely. Obviously, no two online communities are created equal. Things that work for League of Legends might not work, or might even be destructive if implemented someplace like Twitter. But the overall philosophy remains: if services like Twitter and Facebook want to get serious about reducing abuse and harassment on their networks, they need to be investing in solutions as heavily as Riot is. Here at Kotaku, we've had plenty of our own challenges over the years. I've worked here almost 3 years, and during the first year or two, I've got the sense that readers didn't always understand Kotaku's commenting and community policies. Sometimes we banned readers who were abusive and spewed hate-filled language. But other times, the space below a post will be festooned with awful garbage and anonymous hate speech with nary a moderator in sight. That said, our editor-in-chief, Stephen Totil, posted last year a note about brutal comments and a Kotaku for everyone. Was actually very much in the spirit of community norm enforcement and that Riot and others advocate. Rather than just tell Kotaku staffers to continue to unfollow and block abusive commenters, Stephen laid out what Kotaku's community norm should be and who the site is for. We still want readers to feel free to agree or disagree with our articles and say so on the site. We still encourage wit, smart argument, and bold opinions. We still welcome debate. We still, as before, will diminish or even block the visibility of comments by those who simply attack Kotaku writers or readers. Today, I'm also committing to expanding our discussion moderation to push back against any tide of comments that fail the test of being things that we believe you'd say to the face of the people you're commenting about. We imagine that any of our more than 5 million readers per month might disagree with something on our site. We are confident that any of those 5 million can find a way to say so while getting over what is still a low bar. In other words, this is a community, so act like it. Of course, that won't post and solve everything. Still as writers to moderate conversation. Get rid of spam and abuse and promote the best discussions. And like League of Legends, Kinja doesn't have a built-in tribunal-like way for users to police one another, short of responding and to shooting holes in lousy comments. Which you guys do often and admirably. Though readers can report abusive comments to feedback@kotaku.com, and we encourage you to do so. But I do think that it's in the wake of Stephen's article. This discourse on our site improved significantly, and that these days it's better than it's ever been. We have miles to go, of course, but every other internet community beyond a certain size has miles to go with us. In order to make online spaces safer and more welcoming, community members themselves do need to get involved. But first, the people who own and run these communities need to decide what kind of environment they want, to clearly articulate what that looks like, and to give users the tools to help make it happen. An earlier version of Laura's article started off with a metaphor that I really liked. It went something like this. When we talk about abuse and harassment on the internet, we talk about it the same way we talk about natural disasters. We throw up our hands and say, hey, what can you do? We can't stop internet abuse any more than we can stop the rain from falling. And on the internet, she wrote, it's always raining. It doesn't have to be that way. Yes, there will always be jerks out there. Somewhere it'll always be raining. But we don't have to suck it up and weather the storm. Together we can build a shelter. Okay. Now, I want to share this with the rest of, let me state this again. I want to share this with those out there who are actually listening and or reading this along with me. And I know this is going up on YouTube. That's for certain. I mean, considering everything that has gone by, you think about YouTube. YouTube, you have the same problem. You have trolls. They come on our channels. they drop a little dose of toxic on our posts on our main channels. Many of us will take flack for it, but we don't have to deal with it. I myself, being that I'm an LPer, I take flack from it. When I first started being an LPer, I took flack from it all the time because I did things differently. That means I use cheats, I use save states, I use what is considered, you know, quote unquote cheating. I was cheating the system. If I was using codes or save stating, and it was on a game in which A, gave me hell back in the past, or B, I just wanted just to beat the living hell out of it, then I was going to do it. I was going to cheat it, or if not cheat it, then basically do up my research, play the game like I've never played the game before, and triumph over it. And of course, I would take flack for it because, oh, I did it this way. Oh, you're not supposed to do it this way. You're supposed to do it the way that everybody else does. And I have to say this. Every gamer is not created equal. Sure. We have a different play style. Each and every one of us out there, whether you're playing with a keyboard and mouse or a controller, whether you have very little knowledge or a moderate amount of knowledge to, say, game series, no matter if it's one game or many, we're going to take flack for it because to others, if we know it, if we know how to play a game a certain way, it shows. It shows because sometimes you might get a comment. Sometimes you might not. But it's not the comment system you should worry about. Matter of fact, the comment system is the least of your worries. I've learned a long time back, when I was actually starting off as an LPer, that I wanted comments too. I wanted to get some accolades. I wanted this, I wanted that. But the thing is, you can't always get what you want. You can't get like 30 subs a day, or you can't get 100 subs a day. I mean, if I got 100 subs a day, I'd be pretty happy. But again, like I said about my channel, the stuff I'm doing on this channel is not for fame. I mean, outside of being a Let's Player, I'm an author. So therefore, whatever I write down, whatever I document, whatever I send off to my publisher, it's going into the market. It might cost money, but it is going into the market nonetheless. Of course, the old saying is, in order to make money, in order to make money, you have to spend money. So you have to spend a little to get a little more. It's what I've learned. You have to spend money and make more money, because you can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to save up as much as you can," and you have to spend a little in order to get a lot in return. It's equivalent exchange. Well, it's not equivalent exchange. Equivalent exchange would be 1 for 1,000. That's equivalent exchange. This is just, business. You have to spend a little to make a lot. So, to those who are sort of new into the LP business, as I would like to call it, or to those who are just breaking out into the mold and basically feel inspired to do videos on your own channel just to share with others. The thing is, don't get discouraged. And I mean this to those who already have channels and they're facing the issues of traffic, like comments and whatnot. Because it's like this. Trolls will come and go. There's no denying that. Because it is. Anyway. Anyway, what I was saying before. Trolls are going to come and go. And there's no stopping it. But just because trolls will come and go, that doesn't give you the right to say, I want to ban them. I said, you can ban them, but I said, we have a blacklist. I mean, if you have people that make comments that just keep going. Basically, if they become such of a bother, you can ban them. You can put them on a blacklist. I mean, that's what YouTube has now for our channels. If we have repeat offenders that happen to say negative stuff on our videos, then you can just put them on ban. You can also delete their posts off of how many videos they posted. Or you can report them. You can report them and let the system take care of them. But really, in all honesty, you really, you shouldn't really feel bogged down by somebody says, "Oh, you suck." I was like, "Oh God, stop helping." I mean, I've felt that so many times. I've gotten that message so many times just because I couldn't give out some decent commentary or the way I was playing. The little things that certain people would just kind of nitpick about. If you didn't do it this way, or you made some dead air or whatnot, and you take it the wrong way. Or some people don't take it the wrong way. They take it as constructive criticism. I say, simply put, if you can do much better than me, prove it. Simple as that. I mean, that's how I feel about it. If you think I can't do a good job in playing this game, then why don't you show me how it's done? Otherwise, stay the hell off my channel. I play certain games the way I want to play them. I don't have to be like you. Or like this person here. Because yes, I will go on and say this. Yes, there are some users out there that I really can't stand, and I will basically just vent and just say I do not like them because of their character. It's not because of the way they play; it's because of their character. they come off as being this and this and this and this. And, as a person, I do not like that. Like, I could give some examples, but I don't feel like giving examples. Because in person, they might act like that on character, while they're on YouTube. They act a certain way, which is quite possibly the opposite of what they might be in real life. They might be the opposite in real life. But still, they might be cool people. I wouldn't know. They might not be cool people. And once again, I don't know. But the problem is, when it all comes down to it, what happens on our channels should be dealt with. Should be dealt with individually on our own individual channels. Like if they continuously abuse you, yeah, report them. Otherwise, you have the right to delete their posts. You have the right to ban them. You have the right to ignore them. I've done that so many times in the past because, honestly, I'm just one person. I play a game a certain way, so therefore, it's my style, okay? If there are some games that require me to use codes or whatnot, then I'm going to use them. If it can get me out of a fix, if it can get me out of a jam that I couldn't normally get out of otherwise, then yeah, damn right I'm going to use whatever I have in my arsenal to make sure that I get out of it without losing my mind. Because if you ever wonder why I never really just blow up on certain videos, it's because I don't want to lose my mind. I was asked in I remember some time back I was in a stream, and I was watching an episode of Game Center CX in which Arena was playing Donkey Kong Country. I said this, there's a reason why I do not want to play Donkey Kong Country. Basically, it challenges you. It challenges you to no end, You would have to go through certain obstacles on certain stages. In later levels, you would have to deal with a blackout or flickering lights or something like that. Now, Donkey Kong Country has always had a difficulty level to which it went from easy to insanely difficult. Because you have to admit Donkey Kong Country is somewhat difficult. And even to the most seasoned of gamers, it can become difficult, and it might put wear and tear on your style of gaming, or how well you do in the game, your progress rather. So this guy said I was a wuss. I'm like, nah, I'm not no wuss. Because honestly, there's only one time I actually did lose it on a game, and that was Mario Luigi Superstar Saga. And the reason why, and this guy couldn't understand it, is because I was saying this out of character perspective. I was seeing this like if I was Mario myself. I had to picture myself if I was Mario. And the princess princess carried out this plan without telling me about it. At least, the very least you could have done was nicely told me about the plan like a little bit before I got to the princess. You know, have somebody, have some informant, you know, have a toad come out and tell me, you know, Mario and Luigi, this is what's going on. Blah 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 blah. And we continue on like nothing ever happened. We understand it, so therefore there be no problems. But the only reason why I don't do games like Mario, Zelda, or Donkey Kong is because of copyright. Nintendo has a thing about, you know, if you do some of their work, if you do something like, oh, say Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, 3, Doki Doki Panic, Zelda, Donkey Kong Country, they will most likely tag that as third-party content. Therefore, there's no reason for me to do Mario games on my channel. There's no reason for me to do Zelda games on my channel. There's no reason for me to do Donkey Kong games on my channel. Because, one, I don't really want to do them, and two, every one of those games have been done to death in some shape, fashion, or form. That's the main reason. And I want to stand out from other channels because I want to talk about things that are just as important than showing off video games on a daily basis. So that's why my friends like Sheena, Ryu, and Big, those three usually send me some articles that I need to read. They're not related to games in any sort of shape, fashion, form, but they're related to issues that are really happening in real life. So that's the reason. Plus, originally, my channel when I first started off, I said it was variety. Because I don't want, you know, the same thing. I wanted something different. I wanted to bring something different to the table. But going back to what I was saying. We have the power to try to halt the advance of trolls and flamers and spammers. The thing is, we shouldn't give them the power so that we may have to talk about them because of one little comment they said. Like if I had any sort of troll say I should stop LPing, I would more likely blast them back with something very intelligent, and I don't have to say, "Hey, fuck off, you jerk." But I would tell them straight out, unless you can do better than I can, shut up. Because if all you're going to do is saying that you suck, you know, that I quote unquote suck, I'm cheating, I should stop doing what I'm doing just because you should say so. You say I should stop just because you say I should stop. Then you got another thing coming. I'm not going to stop just because you say I should stop. The only way I would stop is either I get too old to do this or I die. And seeing that I am 35 years old, I don't see myself kicking just yet. I do not see myself passing on the torch to my next of kin anytime too soon. And even if I did have to pass the torch on in later years, I doubt that my children could do much better than I could. Or if they could do much better than I could, I want to see them do it. I want to see them surpass me in some shape or form. It's only right that, the child surpasses the parent. I know this is a deep subject that I'm getting into, and my apologies if it seems rather deep. But we as a community we should consider our channels to be our homes. Like, you wouldn't want anybody to break into your place of residence, steal everything in your house that's basically precious to you, and not having anything taken care about it. You're just gonna let it happen. You're not gonna call the police or anything and report what has been going on and who did it. That just don't make no sense. But I will honestly say that, in all honesty, this is a community. YouTube is a community. If there's something wrong with it, we should report it. We should not complain about it. Because complaining is basically, you're saying what's wrong, but you're not doing anything to resolve it. So it's time to stop complaining about who's doing what to your channel. You do something about it on your channel. You have the power to stop whoever it is that might be a repeat offender to trolling you on your channel. And you also have the right to approve whatever comments that come across your channel, should you have that option on. I welcome any kind of comments except for the negative ones. Actually, I should say this. I welcome comments that are mainly positive and less negative. More positive and less negative. Now, if it's criticism, that's different. But I'm talking about if saying, "Wow, stop LPing, you suck. Why don't you do this? Why don't you blah 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 blah." I could be really pissed off, but I'm not going to. And so with that, my good people. Yes, I know it's a very long video. I understand that. But it has to be said. The online community is basically a second home to us. Whether we are streaming, whether we're playing a game, whether we're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Abuse in any sort of form is not good, and we should do something about it. That's the key. That's the plan. And that's what we should do. So I thought I'd share this time out with you guys with this article and my take on the whole article in my perspective. So with that, I'm going to share this link with you guys, and of course you can read this for yourselves and tell me what you think about this article, or your perspective on what you got out of all this is, whether whether it came from me or you reading the article yourself. Feel free to share it on this video or on my channel, and I'll be looking forward to reading and replying to what you got to say. So in any case, I have been the Tenkaichi of Gaming, Pookie7, and I wish you all a very wonderful weekend. God bless every one of you. And I'll see you next time with more videos. Until then, take care, God bless, and Tenkai Muso.